How much rejection can a heart survive before it starts to calcify? If your lover blocks the door, are they protecting you or themselves? What burns hotter, libidinal passion or a prince's pride? Is a naked embrace in the hallway just a moment or a crack in the kingdom's armor? Find out this and more next on Free Your Mind. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to what I think is going to be a little different. So, you just got introduced to Hawk, right? So, you got to see him battle, that whole dark figure persona. And, you might think to yourself, oh, he's trying to be like Batman, you know. And you might be right a little bit because, I'm a big Batman fan, but it's a lot to do with filling gaps. He's there to do what his brother can't or won't or is oblivious to. Like I talked about this in the last video. So, hey, go back and re-listen to that, read along with that one so you can catch up if you haven't. But yeah, so we're going to roll right into the next part of chapter 3. We're still in the city, Avian. We're going to be in the Silver City Palace, right? We're in the southwest wing. All right. Okay. Franklin, barefoot as always, walked through the castle hallway. It had been 12 cycles since he had spent the night here. He looked down at the frayed shorts he wore, wiggled his toes joyfully as he bobbed along. A day filled with idolatry and people dying to touch Leo Cheetah had taken its toll on him. Ready to relax, pup? He looked over at his green dragon companion. His little, shimmering, scaly body moved easily across Frankie. Pup traveled across Franklin's chest, then around his neck and to his back. As Frankie continued his quest towards the royal hot tub, Pup finally nuzzled into his neck, satisfied with where he had chosen to rest, and settled in. Franklin's long ginger hair swayed across his back as he walked nonchalantly down the corridor, past doors and rooms. He stopped in his tracks after passing the entrance to what he knew was the palace's kitchen. He backed up and looked in, stretching past the frame of the doorway. The smell of the fresh cakes and pies that sat upon the counter cooling filled his nostrils. Where are the chefs? The kitchen staff? He stared at the delicious treats, looking confused about what to do. With sadness in his eyes, he petted Pup with his free hand, the other gripping the doorway. With sadness in his eyes, he petted Pup with his free hand, the other gripping the doorway. I'll come back for you, Franklin cheered up, leaving the tasty treats behind. The Kamal Prince continued on his path toward the back end of the castle. He quietly whined sadly, knowing that choosing to leave such deliciousness behind was the right thing for him to do. When Franklin arrived at his destination, he paused for a moment at the sight before him. Prince Casey and Prince Joey were sitting side by side on the other side of the hot tub. He already knew he was in for an experience when Joey was involved. Frankie, welcome to the party, Prince Casey said as he jumped up. The Kamal Prince felt his whole body retract at the sight of the avian prince being stark naked, his arms open invitingly. Oh, dude, put some clothes on. Franklin darted his eyes away, focusing instead on Joey. Prince Casey shrugged off Frankie's rejection and lowered back down into the tub next to Joey. The heroine prince frowned as his eyes met Pup's. He could have sworn the little dragon was eyeing him in some kind of way. Did your pet dragon just give me a dirty look? He questioned, still staring suspiciously at the little lizard. Pup looked away, jumping off Frankie's shoulder onto the lip of the tub. What? First off, he's not a pet. He's my companion. Part of the Cristia family. Thank you very much. Franklin lowered himself into the hot tub reluctantly, facing them both. Secondly, I don't even want to know what you two are really doing up in here. Hey, man, it's a free country. Joey leaned in and kissed Casey. Franklin felt disgusted the moment the pair shared tongues. Joey grinned at Frankie. Plus, if you think about it, the lovely prince here actually owns this love nest. Ugh, I'm going to be sick. Frankie looked like he was about to throw up as he thought about the nastiness and going on underneath the swirling, stormy water that he had just sat in. The young avian prince had been in the company of other men many times. Frankie knew this was different. Casey seemed quite smitten with Joey. Now Joey was more of an opportunist type. Franklin and his teammates were completely aware of this. He just hoped that the heroine prince could see what was happening. He hoped Joey felt the same for Casey. He just stared them both down, more so unapprovingly towards what he was sure were Yasip's intentions. He decided to leave it be and focus on himself. Franklin sunk lower into the magical swirling hot tub, closing his eyes and forgetting about them both. He was in complete bliss as his mind drifted to other things. Goodness, the prince groaned with ecstasy. This is better than the hot springs back home. Frankie sighed, getting lost in the pleasure of it, though it seemed to be short-lived. He could hear Joey and Casey giggling, oohing, and eyeing. His eyes flashed open, and he sat straight up. Okay, that's it. You two are just too much for me right now. All I wanted to do was enjoy this magical swirly swirl. Franklin's nerves were officially perturbed. Oh, by the way, Casey, your brother is looking for you. Also, just a little advice. Make sure you really know who you're getting involved with. Dude! Joey's mouth flew open, shocked by such a hurtful falsity. He could not believe Franklin was betraying the bro code, telling Casey what he believed were exaggerated tall tales of his escapades. What was the name of that girl you were hooked up with earlier at the festival? Joey froze, not knowing what to say. He quickly looked at Casey, whose face was covered with malice. What happened instead was worse. Casey stood up, clearly hurt by the thought, with his fists balled up. Joey thought they were about to get into a physical altercation. Franklin was wide-eyed, mouth opened at the sight of a very naked Casey hopping out of the tub and huffing away hurriedly. Franklin grimaced as he got another full view of the royal jewels before Casey grabbed his towel before he stormed off. Joey was just as naked as he jumped up to follow the angered prince. He felt no shame at his own exposure, but was ashamed that Casey knew what he shouldn't. Dude, not cool, Joey snarked, ready to confront Frankie physically. Pup interceded, hissing at Joey and his dangling jewels. Joey rolled his eyes, full of disgust at Frankie as he grabbed his towel instead and chased after Casey. He couldn't believe Franklin had completely blurted things out. To Yasip, this was all out of context. It was Scorpio that had been with that girl, not him. Wait, it wasn't me. It was Michael, the heroine prince cried out. Franklin gets us mixed up all the time. The Kamal Prince found joy in the cruelty. He should have felt bad about it, but he didn't. He was glad to finally have the royal magical swirly swirl to himself. With his head tilted back and his hands behind his head, he closed his eyes and sank yet again down into ecstasy until the water was up to his chin. Frankie enjoyed the magnificent array of dancing water against his body. After hearing a small splashing, he opened one eye to investigate. Pup, his little green friend, floated by. He had eased his little scaly body into the magical swirl and was now lounging on his back with his tail guiding him along. Meanwhile, down the hall, Casey could hear the commotion that Joey created not far behind. He had interrupted the castle's help on his quest to him. Joey walked steadily onward, dripping wet as he passed more royal occupants that ran the castle. As Casey made his way up the stairs to the northeast wing, Yassib called after him. His cheating beau had chased him all the way towards his royal bedroom. Casey grinned, loving that he was being chased. He didn't turn back, but instead watched his pursuer from his periphery. Though angered, his excitement grew, knowing Joey was almost upon him. Casey's passions rose as Joey grabbed his arm, having caught up to him. Joey quickly pushed the bedroom door open, but blocked Casey from entering. Keeping up appearances, Casey, completely turned on, made sure he kept presenting the look of anger across his face. He decided to try and push past Joey. Wait. Don't be mad, baby. Frankie was just giving us a hard time. He breathed heavily, his stomach full of butterflies. He was adamant about saving what he and Casey had begun, desperately moving closer to the prince. You know, you are the only one I want to be with. You know you are the only one I want to be with. Casey looked at Joey with disbelief and tried pulling away from him. Holding onto both of the prince's arms, Joey moved his hands down, placing his hands into Casey's. Joey let go of one of his hands and wrapped his arm around Casey's waist. He pulled him in close and kissed him passionately. Both princes almost got lost in their libidinous embrace. Casey could feel Joey's hot thickness pressed against him. Overwhelmed, he pulled away. The avian prince took a deep breath as he tried to collect himself. He knew if they embraced any longer, their actions within the hallway would have become obscene. It was bad enough that they were both naked. As much as I want to believe you, I don't. Casey's words were stern. He reluctantly backed away from Joey, choosing to protect his heart. Casey moved past Joey and through the door, kicking his fallen clothes into the room. The prince threw up his hand, shaking his head no as Joey tried to follow. Joey stood there, speechless, watching the best thing that ever happened to him disappear behind closing chamber doors. He hoped, nay, prayed, that this was not the end of them. All right. Well, guys, that's where we come to an end. That's where we're going to stop. You were introduced to the boys, the Team Dragon Force. You know who the enemy is, Hiroku, the Emperor of the Shadowlands, his minions, everybody. So you know what's about to happen as we move forward. And next, we roll into chapter 4 Yeah, chapter 4. So stay tuned as we begin the author's corner. All right. We just learned about how human these Enochian people really are, especially the princess, right? So this is what I am going to call Reflections of Episode 8. That's what we're going with. Could it be a better title? Maybe, but that's what we're going with today. All right. Number 1. What was the emotional core of this scene for you? Well, 2 things. The betrayal of the bro code, and then the scene in the hallway as Joey tries to plead with Casey. Right? So the bro code, apparently Frankie was rubbed the wrong way because of the day that he's had. Even though, he's a prince, he's used to people. He just wanted to get in that, that swirly swirl and have his time. He didn't mind that the others were there, but they were just being too lovey-dovey for him in that moment. Of course, he was single, so, I don't think he really understood how that can really go. Anyways, but yeah, that leads to the whole conflict with Joey and Casey, and the naked hallway fiasco with Joey and Casey. Yeah. So, next question. Why did you choose to include surreal elements like the magical swirly swirl? Well, I love the absurdity, but it reveals the stress and how happy Frankie was to release. I don't want to say release the stress, but just kind of like let it all fall off into the water. Yeah, but Frankie's indulgence in the swirl is a little comical on the surface, but it's also his way of escaping the tension that kind of built up from him being around the crowd. That because you have to understand, he is being praised as a god. He is being lifted up as a hero and a champion of Kamal. And he's got another handful of festivals to go to where he has to repeat that. So, all right, number 3. How do you balance humor and intensity in scenes like this? Well, it's letting the characters lead. If someone is spiraling, I let them spiral. If someone's posturing, I let them posture. The humor comes from contrast, like Frankie's oblivious joy against Casey's simmering control. Well, not control, right? More. He's more like a little pouty teenager. That it's so emotional. It's about that rhythm, that emotional rhythm. So, yeah. All right. So the next question: what does the hallway scene between Casey and Joey what does the hallway scene between Casey and Joey reveal about their relationship? Well, there's a little bit of a power struggle there, disguised as intimacy, I would say. Joey wants the connection. Casey lacks the trust part of that. And that tension between touch and truth is what makes the scene kind of crackle. So, yeah. All right, last question, number 5. Is there a line or moment from these pages that surpassed you as the author? Woo! What a question. What a question. All right, so Joey's naked vulnerability. I can't believe I made it through that word. Literally and emotionally. That it kind of caught me off guard when I was writing it, because I mean I knew what I wanted, but for it to be so intimate and in that hallway, kind of, uh, I didn't expect them to be so exposed, so raw. Um, but hey, that's the beauty of writing. It really is, and you're going to see more of that, deep connection with others as the book goes on. Um, but yeah, sometimes your characters they show you who they really are when you least expect it, and that happened a lot. You know, it really happened a lot because I made a lot of changes to the lineup of Team Dragon Force originally, how I wanted things to go, and then the story just kind of unfolded, and these characters really spoke to me. So they kind of told me their story in a way. But yeah, so hey, that's gonna be about all here on the Author's Corner. You know what you need to do? You need to like and subscribe to this channel because there's more to come. There's more to come. Now, I'm not going to give you the whole book. So this is not like an audiobook where you get to hear from beginning to end and the whole thing. But this is just me giving you enough so that you have something to go on, right? This is a read along. You're going to read along with me until I stop reading. And then you're on your own. But until then, join me next week for episode 9. This has been a wonderful experience so far. I'm Quentin, and I'll see you next time. Peace.